can you see this person's perspective, but can you see beyond this barrier that is in front of you right now? And we do get to that place of gratitude and actually appreciation. Now, it takes us refusing to stay in a victim mindset in order to do that.
Welcome, everybody. It's launch date time. I'm Devon O'Day.
I am Teri Pugh.
Oh, it is crazy. This has been one of those days where I just go, hold on. Let me change this real quick. There we go. Ding! There's Ding. Launch date.
There we are.
And today is a day where we are going to learn about self-forgiveness, cutting ourselves some slack. This morning, I get up really early and I go to an app and I listen as I do my day to Clubhouse, which is another social media platform that Teri and I are both on. And there's this thing called Breakfast with Millionaires. And it's these people who have these ways of thinking. And there was a guy who was talking about entrepreneurs. He said, we are our worst boss. We are our worst critic. We give ourselves no vacations, no time off. If we are an entrepreneur and we run our business, we are absolutely the worst people to work for. And it really got me thinking. And then when I said, Teri, what do you want to talk about today? She said, cutting ourselves some slack. And I went, dovetail.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So today we're literally going to talk about self-forgiveness, and we mess up. Sometimes it's some little mess up, but sometimes it's an epic fail.
Yeah. Sometimes we hit the board and other times we miss the whole thing, And it's not so much about missing it or hitting it as it is about how the inner dialogue that we have going on.
Exactly. And if you're watching this on one of our pages, we ask you to weigh in on this conversation. Wayne Best has joined us. Good day to you, Wayne. Good to have you here. Wayne has the cutest dog I've ever seen.
And it's her birthday today.
Oh, yes. Happy birthday to baby girl.
Birthday. Yes.
I
thought
love
about
that.
her when I saw that this morning. I said, oh, we have to shout out to the fur baby today.
Oh, and Junior's watching. Hello, my pal, my love, Devon, and Sister Teri. Welcome to the show.
Hello. And
for the people that have said, you and Teri kind of favor each other, we have decided we're spirit sisters.
Mm-hmm.
We
can be that.
Wayne says, thank you.
Yeah.
We love to celebrate all birthdays here. And you guys, it's like we have this little gathering every week. We 12 noon launch instead of lunch. We launch date. And so a lot of people join us during their lunch hours at work. Tim is joining us right now. Good afternoon, Wednesday. Blessings. Love me some Tim Bradley. And you guys we're just kind of all getting here in the room today about self-forgiveness. And we've all had issues. Now, some people have issues that's hard to forgive that are connected to addiction. Under the influence, sometimes we do things that we need to ask to make amends for.
Right. And that's all about accountability for ourselves, right? Because we have the right to be disgruntled or be disappointed, but we don't have the right to misdirect or to self-abuse. We do it, but it's not necessarily in our best or highest and best to do that. So being forgiving with ourselves, and forgiveness with ourselves does not mean letting ourselves off the hook every time we, it's not about being, creating a pattern where we go, oh, well, I'll just forgive myself for that and keep going. Oh, I'll just forgive myself for that. That creates a toxic pattern.
Ooh. Okay, that's a little jar we're going to open up in just a few minutes. Shout out to Nikki Nelson Welcher. Love me some Nikki. She and I are going to be on the stage together at the Wilson County State Fair. And it's going to be Tuesday night, August 17th. Nikki, you just don't know it, but you're singing with me. They're going to make me sing. I'm going to call in the great gun. So she's amazing and loves this conversation. I think it's really hard. I think moms and dads have a really hard time forgiving themselves when they think they've messed up with their kids. Can we talk about that for a second? Because
Absolutely.
I'm not a mom. I mean, I'm a dog mom. I'm a horse mom, but that is in no way not even close. There's so much that rides on the raising of a child. And if that child has any issue, whatever, the first person, as I've heard from all of the parents that I know, maybe I could have done something different to have avoided this, whether it's a mental health issue or whatever. So let's talk about parenting and forgiving yourself that you weren't perfect or that the child chose to do something and you're blaming yourself.
Okay. So when we have that happening in our lives, many times we do go into that, I call it the martyrism kind of thing, where we're like, oh, well, if I had only done things differently, you would have been better. Sometimes there's some validity to that. If we are modeling for our children unhealthy behaviors, then absolutely we are accountable for shifting that. That does not mean that's always easy. However, releasing that need to punish oneself
Right.
releases us from a lifetime of regret, resentment, shame, and getting clear with, once our children reach adulthood,
Yeah.
they then have the tools to shift. If you have been a parent that perhaps modeled an unhealthy behavior, once your child is an adult, it's their responsibility at that point. They're not responsible for how you parent, but they are responsible for how they adult. That makes sense?
Yeah. And it's not letting yourself off the hook, but it is letting yourself off the hook.
Well, yes, and it's
Yeah.
about accountability. It's about
Mhm.
accountability. Say, for instance, you enabled a child, and whether
Yeah.
we're talking about enabling them with addiction or enabling them with poor behavior, at some point, as a parent, we have the right and the obligation to say, you know what, I missed the mark with you.
Yeah.
I failed you on in some areas, but
Mhm.
now you it's you're responsible for this.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean taking our bag of crap and saying, now you got to deal with my bag of crap. It means I didn't love myself enough or like myself enough to be able to parent in a healthy way,
Right.
just because maybe I didn't have the tools, you know?
Yeah. Things
Um,
get passed down. I mean, if we get blue eyes because great grandma had blue eyes, and 7 generations later, you've got the same color blue eyes that great grandma had, there's other stuff that gets passed down too.
Absolutely. I
You
will.
know,
Yes, absolutely. Generational trauma gets passed down,
Mhm.
where we don't necessarily respond in the healthiest way, but we respond in a familiar way.
Mhm.
you know Sometimes as parents we do miss the mark. My daughter, I've told her this story, so any of you that are not sitting down, sit down, don't gasp, and I don't need any hate mail from this because it's just the truth. It's how it unfolded. When she was about 3 months old, she wasn't sleeping, and I felt alone and isolated, although I wasn't, but in my mind I felt that I was. And not my finest moment as a mother to a young child, but I dropped her about 18 inches in her crib, and I screamed at her that she was trying to manipulate me and she was trying to control me. And I mean, I just went off. And I went outside and I sat down and I cried and I cried and I cried. And then it washed over me that, you know what, that's not who I am.
Mhm.
And I needed to not only check myself, but be accountable for that. So I journaled all of this and turned it over to her when she turned 21. I gave her a series of journals, and I got a text at about 11:30 one night. Mom, what in the world were you thinking? And we were able to have a healthy talk about that. And I've talked with
Mhm.
lots of young moms over the years about, it's okay to miss the mark.
Mhm.
And that wasn't my finest moment as mom, but I learned from that. I did not repeat an unhealthy pattern. we as parents do that. We miss the mark sometimes, and we hold ourselves so accountable based on everyone else's and social parameters of how we should show up. And this can be a mom to a two-legged kid, or a mom to a four-legged kid, or dad, either one. Because at some point there's just unconditional love going back and forth, right?
Right.
And we misfire, and then we have buckets of shame around that.
Yeah. This is a show about getting rid of the big old bucket of shame that we've carried around that we don't have to carry. And I will guarantee, I will wager to guess that most people don't know that you have that bucket of shame. So there's no reason for you to carry it around because you're the only one that knows you have it. Now that's the deal, is ding, ding, ding. Nobody else knows. And so if you're carrying it around as some kind of martyr thing, it doesn't help to be a martyr if it's all in secret. It just hurts us.
And here's the thing with the martyr stuff, and this is where it gets a little tricky. When we are carrying around that bucket of shame and nobody knows that we've got it, we can also turn into enablers. We can turn into extreme caregivers. We're trying to make up for something that we don't need to make up for. We need to forgive. There is no making up for it. It's about forgiving it and releasing it. And that doesn't mean omitting that it never happened or saying that it doesn't matter. It means, you know what? That happened. Not my finest moment. I learned from it. And I'm sorry. I hope that you can forgive me.
Yeah. Have to admit that this was an issue.
Yeah.
Wow. Shout out to Kathy Ward. Thank you. She says, you ladies are awesome and we think you're awesome. All you listeners and viewers who show up here every week, and the way that you not only interact with us, but with each other. Yes. I have watched it, how you interact with each other, and it's just a beautiful thing. Miranda, the biggest thing I had to admit is food is an addiction too. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Been there.
Food, sex, shopping, toxic relationships, gambling, smoking,
the internet,
drinking, the internet, the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. And we realize, and sometimes our self-forgiveness has to be, we have to forgive ourselves when we just screw up.
Sure.
We forget something that's very important. We have busy lives. And we don't get enough rest. And sometimes our brain just doesn't hold it all in. Like today, full disclosure, y'all, Teri called me and said, you haven't sent me the link. And I go, that's because I didn't even, is it Wednesday?
I know, it's like 2 minutes till. I was like, girl, what are we doing?
And then like a pro, I just said, what are we talking about today? She said, cutting ourselves some slack. It's okay. I say that a lot of times. Now, I don't mean like I had an issue with, and I struggle with it, being late places. It's not that I don't respect other people's time, is that for some reason I can make every plan and I give myself an hour to drive somewhere, and there will be something in that hour, in that traffic, in that drive-in or whatever, or I plan on something and my alarm, or I sleep through the alarm, whatever.
So you know how my mind thinks, right?
Yes.
So I do. Do you have an issue with being late, or do you have an issue with being on time?
Both. apparently. And I'm one of those creative types who gets involved in something and I don't let it go, or I think I have more time than I do. And so I've really been working on that, because there are those two people in this world, the people who are always early and the people who are always late. Now, I don't mean an hour late. Now that's just ridiculous, and I don't mean something bad has happened.
Sure.
But I give myself this weird adrenaline rush. Oh my God, I've got to be here and I'm going to be late. And I started realizing, if I were talking to Teri, she would say, why are you doing this to yourself? What are you getting out of this? And I think it was that addiction to adrenaline. And I'm going to give myself this much, and I can make it 30 minutes, and I can set the GPS and try to beat my clock.
Right.
What in the world is that?
Well, and here's the ripple effect to that, Devon. Okay, say you show up late,
Mhm.
and then you're frazzled, right? And you're like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, I'm sorry, I'm so late. You say you're 10, 15 minutes late. I'm sorry, I'm so late, I'm so late. And the other person looks at you and goes, oh, it's okay. It's not a problem. It's okay. It's okay. Not really. They can just say, thank you. Because that's the giving and the receiving, right? You become frazzled because you're late. And then maybe they are in a situation where they're used to people not showing up. So then they will forgive that away fairly quickly, but then walk away feeling a little salty about it. So those are ways that can, especially with family.
Oh, right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Lisa Richard. Oh, I love my Lisa. My Lisa's up in Nova Scotia. Like the tire pressure needs to be checked and you're running late. Yes. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And one of the things that I started doing that I would catch myself, and I started, and Rita Davenport is a time management speaker. She's a humorist. She's a TV host, and created a wonderful cosmetic line. She said, no matter what you do, if you have a half a tank, if you have a quarter tank, at night on your way home, fill up with gas. Because whatever happens the next day, if you need gas to get where you're going, you're going to either run yourself late or whatever or there won't be gas at the place. Whatever it is, do it the night before.
Yeah.
And she said, it will change your life. And it did, because that would, I'll get it in the morning.
It also relieves you, or relieves people from self-berating.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first thing we do is when if we are running late, and then you need to get the gas or you need to check the tire pressure, what's the first thing we do? We don't think about, not often do we think about picking the phone up and going, hey, Devon, I owe you an apology. I'm running a few minutes late. I need to check the tire pressure. Typically, the first thing humans will do is go, oh my God, why is this happening to me? What else is going to go wrong? We go right into that negative landslide.
Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad.
And it's almost like it's just taunts you to come into it. And once you're running late, that's the invitation, right? Instead of stepping back and going, you know what? I'm going to apologize for this when I get there. I'm going to take accountability. I'm going to be present in my driving, because once you got to check the tire pressure or get the gas, then you're going to catch every red light.
Every single one. I started manifesting green lights a long time ago, and I just read the book Green Lights from Matthew McConaughey. Actually, I listened to it. Best audiobook I've ever. I cried when it was over, not because something bad happened, because I didn't want it to end.
Oh.
So I will tell you, get that on audio. Just get it on audio. It is incredible. Shout out to Barbara Kennedy Bruton, who is watching today from the group Credenda. Tim, roll the floor laughing. Amen. We all have our moments. Oh my God. I had this conversation with a friend. Mrs. April said, when I go, she said they would tell people to get to the funeral home 2 hours late. Then maybe I would be ready. Oh, he said, now I've gotten better. Only a couple of minutes late. Yeah.
Yeah.
Miranda, I realized I was addicted to the stress response last week. Wow. Those good, excited feelings, and add coffee to it.
Exactly.
Yeah. That thing is like, and as we get older, sometimes we start building in stuff because we don't have the adrenaline we had when we were 17.
Mm-hmm.
So, getting some high fives about putting gas in the tank. Let's see. Let's say Barbara, red lights all the way.
Yes. Right.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, and it is really about whether it's parenting, whether it's driving, whether it's whatever it is, just being gentle enough to create some space that, and to look at the reason why you are ruling yourself with the iron thumb. Why do you have to be so perfect? Where's that come from?
Exactly. Yeah. Why is that? Delnora sending love and hugs. Love her right back. And Tim's manifesting green lights. Let's talk about Now let's move into the solution. We talked about the problem. We all know that we don't cut ourselves some slack. How are some things what are some practices that we can do for self-forgiveness?
Well, the first practice is acknowledging it.
Mm-hmm.
Acknowledging that, whatever it is where you feel you have fallen short, acknowledge it. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
In this moment, it's okay. Now, we're not talking about, when I say that, I'm talking about like the negative cycle that we get in our head. We can certainly say, oh, we got to dig back to the root of it and unearth that root and da 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 da. But in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
take some deep breaths and just acknowledge that, you know what? It's okay. I think I'm going to get the gas. I'm going to stop at this red light. Um, I'm going to learn something from this. And
Mm-hmm.
breathing in just that it is okay. If you're a few minutes late, it's okay. In the big scheme of life, it's okay, right?
Right. The other thing I think number 2 is do not hit yourself with the spiritual noodle. And what I mean,
Sure.
That thing when you got the big thing and you go, I really wish I could get better at this. The person's forgiven you that you have wronged or whatever, but you can just continually hit yourself over the head and you don't let it go for yourself. Repeating negativity repeats the negative action.
Absolutely. And if you're beating yourself over the head, then you need to ask yourself what you're getting out of that. Because there's a
Again, the question.
I know, but there's a mindset there that you're getting something out of it. A lot of times people will say, I'm so sorry I'm late. I'm so sorry I'm late. And the other person will go, it's okay. No worries. Let's get busy on whatever we're doing. Oh gosh, I just feel so bad because I was just so late and I just feel so bad. And it's just like, okay, you got to stop that cycle. Because what you're doing is you're feeding that negative.
Right.
Rather than being gracious enough to go, okay, this has been forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to beat myself up about it. I don't have to, drag that around with me.
I love it. My friend Teri is on, and I'm glad we make you laugh, Teri. Great info. Bernie Berlin, love her more than lunch and jewelry. And Barbara says the thing about putting gas in the tank is that we return home really late from shows and we're so tired. So the same cycle starts again. Del Nora says, I love that. What am I getting out of this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you'd heard as much as I have, you probably wouldn't love it that much.
So like Devon's triggered all over the place now. She's like, oh, I hate that.
Okay.
True, right?
Yes. And Teri knows my mama, Mama Pat. She's 83.
We love Mama Pat.
We love Mama Pat, even when she's not so lovable. Sometimes she has her moments. She didn't apologize for anything. She didn't back up for anything. She's like, she can be sugar sweet, but she is a steel magnolia and she can just with her words or whatever. And you just go,
Mm-hmm.
She's got that gift, as many Southern women do. We were riding along. I went home to visit and we were riding along the backwoods and she thought of somebody that I have not seen in about 20 years. And she said, I just hate so-and-so. Just driving along. I said, where did that come from? Where did that come from? I said, you've been carrying around that? She said, yep. And I said, you need to let that go. She said, no, I don't. I'm 83 years old. I can carry what I want to carry. And I'm going to carry that because I'm going to go to my grave hating that person. And she said that they were bad and they were ugly to you. And I'm going to just carry that. And I just thought of it. I just thought I'd tell you I hate them. And I thought, that's what we do to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 83. I'm 63. I'm 13. I hate this about me, so I'm just going to carry it. Now, I can look at my mama, my sweet little 83-year-old salty mama, and say, that's crazy. But I don't look at myself and go, let it go, chick, and actually let it go.
Right. And I'll even crawl out so far on the limb because I like limbs. I'm gonna crawl out on the limb and say that sometimes when people do that kind of stuff and they just pull up stuff that's pretty random, they can be saying something like that because that is a way that they can be inadvertently telling you how much they care about you.
Yeah. That's good.
Sometimes people have a hard time saying I love you, saying you've done a good job, saying whatever. So they find ways to dig up. They find things to dig up, and then we look at them like they're crazy. Like, what in the hell? Like, where did that come from? Like, we're out here in the bayou and all of a sudden we got a car full of hate.
Yeah.
And that's not even, but hey, here's the thing. Mama Pat wants to hang on to that hate. She can hang on to that hate. That's her choice. That's the beautiful thing about our forgiveness and our self-forgiveness. We get to hang on to what we want to hang on to. And if that hate still fits, then wear the heck out of it. But if you decide you want to upgrade to something that feels a little more comfortable, trade it in.
Yeah.
Our experiences evolve.
I take the 3X, please. I want something comfy.
I want some wiggle room. Our experiences evolve as we evolve as humans.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we don't evolve and that experience still stays traumatic.
Okay, solution 1, acknowledge that it's there, acknowledge that there's everybody else in the room is not carrying it around. How to acknowledge that you are carrying around. Number 2, and it's one of Teri's favorite, let that ish go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually, I laugh at, that's not what Teri says. She says, let that ish go. You don't say that. You say, let that.
Mm-hmm. I do.
It's one of my favorite. It's actually one of my favorite words. Let that shit go.
I say, let that shit go and grow.
Yeah, that's right. That's it. And that is number 2. Let that shit go and grow. And that is letting it go is not as easy. It's not like fairies and unicorns. La, 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 la. It's acknowledging that it is there and whatever and go, look, I am making a conscious effort.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be challenging. It doesn't. What it is new pathways forming, not to get all off into the brain and everything, but it's new pathways forming. We're deciding to do things differently, to show up differently, to speak differently, to forgive differently, to create a different mindset. And forgiveness, if we don't forgive ourselves, I can guarantee you we're not forgiving other people. We'll say we do, but we will tuck that away and squeeze our butt cheeks so tight and we won't ever let it out. But we're not forgiving other people if we're not forgiving ourselves.
And it's heavy.
It's heavy. Absolutely.
Barbara says Daniel Bruton is listening in. It sparked a conversation with his sister, Anna. That's amazing. And that's what it is. This is just a little nugget to tuck away and say, hey, we're going to start talking. Keith Camp checked in. Sent your friend request. Hope you'll answer it. My friend requests are full, but I will take a look and see if there's some wiggle room on that, Keith. If not, you can do a follow there and join me on my professional Devon O'Day page too. That it's there. Miranda, so many things done out of love, but not necessarily healthy.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's good. That's good, Miranda.
Absolutely. And that's defined by how we define that love and that love experience and that the modeling. We have, most people have good intentions, even with ourselves. We have good intentions. We just don't necessarily hit the mark sometimes. And if we don't hit the mark, that's okay. There's still something to be gained, something to be learned, and, something to appreciate in that missed whatever.
Michelle, hey, from Murfreesboro, Devon and Teri, we are so glad that you're here. Getting an amen from Tim goes to show how Mama Pat loves her some Devon. She does. She will take off her shoe and beat you with it if you come around her girls. Joyce saying, hey, girls.
Hey, Joyce.
And I love that. Note to self, let that shit go. She's laughing. Letting it go is good for wrinkle skin care. That's right. It truly is.
Absolutely.
Joyce has something. My mother was a manic depressive. She had very was very hard to deal with, but I was always forgiving because there was a lot she did that was hurtful, but I loved her unconditionally. Teri, your daddy used to call her squirrels.
Now, I would like to say, well, that's odd, but if you knew my daddy, that was probably not odd. So,
the number 3 is when you create that vacuum by saying, all my time I spend looking in the mirror saying, how could you? You stupid, you this, beating yourself up all that time. If you say, okay, every time I start thinking that way, I'm going to switch that to an active positive. You'll have all of a sudden new plants get to grow. If you plant bitter weeds out in a pasture and your cows are giving bitter milk, it's because you gave them something to eat that wasn't good. Same thing with the body. You plant bitter weeds in your brain and you go, why is everything icky?
Well, and how many times have you heard people say, oh, I sound just like my dad when I say that. Oh, I sound just like my mom when I say that. Oh, I sound just like my so-and-so when I say that. If it is a negative thing that you're hearing yourself say repetitively, step away from that mirror for just a minute and ask yourself, are these really my thoughts, or are these just things I've heard so much that I've adopted them? Maybe they're not. Maybe they're not really the way you're like, it's not the negative Nelly kind of thing. And so being able to say, you know what, I'm going to step away from that. I'm going to cut myself that slack. I'm going to give myself that grace, to reframe the way that we speak to ourselves. A lot of people will have negative words for themselves. You're so stupid. I can't believe I did this, blah, 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 blah. A lot of that is not their own experience. It's been passed down. And
absolutely. And I'm going to throw a monkey wrench in here. First of all, this is not the monkey wrench. This is because my precious Jacqueline Marushka just joined. I love these talks. We love you.
Yes.
She is an amazing publicist. If you need a great publicist, she's incredible, great photographer. When we can continue to carry on the negative conversation and beat ourselves up, it's almost it's not almost, it is. It can become reverse ego. And it's, I'm so bad. I'm so bad. And somebody says, no, you're not. You go, yes, I am. Let's talk about how bad I am. Let's talk about how and have these long conversations. Well, if I had done, if I had only, and you start watching people start being repelled from those conversations because it becomes ego. And it's, look at me for all the ways I've messed up. Can you feel sorry for me because I've messed up so much? And I know that is an extreme version of what happens, but if you can boil it down to that, it really is a place where you go, well, I'm going to let that go. Because if we thought for a second it was based in ego, we don't have a problem letting that go.
Right. Well, and also know who be aware of the repetitiveness in those conversations. I know folks like that, and they'll say, oh, I'm just so awful. And I'm like, okay.
Because that's what Teri will do. It's like, okay, you want to ride that boat? Bye.
This is, you've had these conversations and you have to decide, we've talked before about the glasses of energy that you have. If you wake up every day with 3 cups of energy, where are you going to put this energy? I'm not going to put my energy, I'm not pouring out my good energy into something that is just defiant about it's needing that ego. It's needing that self, validation of, but no, I'm really sorry. It's okay. We're good. No, I'm really sorry. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. See ya. We have to decide if we're going to engage in that or not. And sometimes it can be challenging because the caretaker, the activist, the, kind human doesn't want to walk away and leave somebody hanging like that. Ooh. But you got to know who you have to be willing to give yourself the same kindness that you are giving someone else. And if you're not doing that for yourself, then you're doing yourself an injustice.
Amen.
Bottom
Amen.
line.
Letting that stuff go is what today is about. We hope that you will share this with somebody that you think might benefit from this. And know every day that whatever you get involved in with your mind, with your heart, with your body, it's all the same. It's all the same deal. It's all you, and you can make a choice every day. Teri, tell them how they can get in touch with you.
I can be found on Instagram at Transcending Turbulence, or you can find me at teripugh.com. That's TERIPUGH.com.
Well, and you can reach me just by messaging me here. And if you share this with somebody, you can also find us on YouTube on the Main Street Today YouTube channel. We're going to create our own YouTube channel, and this is all going to be created for an audio broadcast. We'll let you know. Let's say you're going to take a trip and you go, hey, I'm going to be stuck in the car with someone that could really use this stuff. We're going to create some audio podcasts for these as well.
I was just thinking, I would love to, I mean, it's crazy as this sounds to some people, but I would love to be in a car with you and just travel. We would have the best conversations.
I know.
Right?
Yeah. We shrink each other.
We do. It's just like, it's awesome. But we are the gardeners of our life. So if we are planting seeds, we need to make sure that we are planting seeds that are going to be a fruitful harvest for us. Otherwise, like you said earlier, we're planting things that they're not going to be sustainable. And, don't worry about getting your shit together. Then you got a big, huge pile of shit. So just one day at a time, forgive yourself, give yourself some slack, forgive others, and cut some grace there as well.
Grace is a good word. If you're like me and you come from that, and I'll just call it, with all the love in my heart, a churchy background, it's called unmerited favor. You don't wait till someone deserves your forgiveness to give them, because that ain't what forgiveness is. Grace is given because we give it, because it was given to us. And that's the way it works. And our world needs a lot of grace right now. And we also need a lot of peace, and which is why Teri always ends the show the same way.
That's right. Thank you guys for sharing with us today, and increase